Hi everyone, so I'm going to be going over an example on how we can connect our camera on our phone to the Expo application so then we can see the front and the back view of the camera. So let's go to create a new project. Okay, so now that it's done installing, we're going to drag and drop it over into Visual Studio Code. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to our app.js here, and we're going to have to configure or recode this application here in order to work with our camera. So it's not too much we have to do, but let's just set up a few imports here at the top. So let's import useState first. And actually here in the React Native, I'm going to be adding button, and I'll be using this thing called touchable opacity, so we can click on something, and then that's actually it. And that should be good for that part. And we need to actually import the Expo camera as well. So in order to import the Expo camera, so first thing we have to do is we have to install the Expo camera. So I'm going to right click, new file, readme.md, and this can be Expo camera and installation for Expo camera. So let's open up the terminal, new terminal, and I'll just paste it inside there. And once that's done, we can go back to our app.js. We're going to import one more thing here at the top of our page. It's going to be import curly brace camera and camera type from Expo camera. There we go. And what we need to do is we need to add a little bit more set of conditions here in between the export and the return. So what I'll do is I'll just set up const type set type is equal to useState camera type dot back, and then const permission request permission is equal to the camera dot use camera permission. So these are methods that are built in already. So we want to say that we are initially going to start with the back camera on our phone, and then the permission is because we are using some sort of special feature on our phone, we actually need to get permission in order to link up and connect with our mobile application. So we have to use the use camera permission. And we have to do some conditional checking here. So if permission, if there is no permission, because the not means opposite, means no pretty much, or false. So camera permissions are still loading. Then what we want to do is we want to return the view. View is just another way of saying like div or just some kind of container. So instead of divs, we will not be using divs anymore. We will be using view in our application. And what we want to do now is here, if not permission dot granted, camera permissions are not granted yet. So if the permission is not granted, then let's show something else. We'll return this. So view style is equal to styles.container. Center. We need your permission to show the camera. So it's just like an alert saying we need some permission in order to set up the camera. And I'm going to put a button here, and it's going to say on press. So it's pretty much saying on click, but we have to use on press when we're dealing with Expo. And we're going to call the request permission. And the title of it, we will say grant permission. And then self-closing tag. So we should only see this text and the button initially when you run your application, because it'll ask you for getting permission before it actually accesses your camera. And then I will set up a function which will toggle the camera type between the front and back. Set type current. So it's going to take whatever it is currently. And then it's going to check is camera type dot back true. If it is true, then camera type dot front, change it to camera dot front, and if not, then camera type dot back. So this is just the ternary operator that we've looked into while we are dealing with JavaScript. So we're basically saying set this type, which we've set up right here from our use state. Initially it is the back camera. So if it is the current one, which is the back camera, we're going to push it over here and do the checking. So if current is the back camera, then if it is true, we're doing the left side, right? On the left side of that colon. So then true, we're going to change it to front camera. But then when it is at front, and we click on the button again later, then if it's camera.front, camera type.front, does it equal back? No, it's false, so it'll go on the false side. So then it'll be camera type.back. So it's going to go back and forth between the front and the back camera. And right here, this is where we need to do a bunch of the stylization and adding more tags here. So let's set this up here. I'm going to put a view. So we're not using divs anymore, no divs. We are using a view that replaces a div. And I'm going to just place this stuff inside here. And then I'll put style, and I'll put camera size. Camera. And just indent. Make sure you always indent your code nicely so it's easier to read. And then within this camera tag, I'm going to also put another view, and I'll put style is equal to styles.button container. Perfect. And then we need to make it interactive. So the way we make it interactive is, remember, all we have to do is, remember when we're using our application, that the applications use like these touch commands. So what we're going to do is we're going to be using this div. We're going to be using this tag that's called touchable opacity, and then style, dot button on press. So when we click it, it will toggle camera type. And I don't need this status bar right now. I'm just gonna have the text here. So we have the text right here, and we are gonna say flip camera, and I'll just put a style here. Styles.text. So this touchable opacity is basically containing this text. So whenever the user clicks on this, when they touch on their screen, this text here, then we're going to toggle this function, which we've set up right here. And this function is what's actually toggling the camera between the back and the front camera. And I'm just going to stylize it a little bit before I continue. So container, flex1, justify content. So I'm just using some flexbox elements to stylize this. So it's not going to be fully stylized, just to remember this is really quickly done, but it's just one more thing, which is the text. And then font size 24, font weight bold, color white. Okay, so this should be good. We're just stylizing some of the text on the screen, and then we want to stylize the button that we have and whatever button container we have. And here's the most important thing is like we have our camera size, so we can adjust like how big or small the camera is. And then here's our view. We're just going to place it on our screen, and we will be able to touch the portion where this text is located, and then it will toggle, it will trigger this function on press when the person presses it, and it will go to this function, and then the current type at the beginning will start at the back camera. And then after the back camera, it will then go back and forth between the front and the back, whichever one they're on, and it'll just pick the opposite one. So let's test this out. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to do npx expo start, and I'm not going to be able to use Android Studio for this because we are going to actually have to scan the QR code with our phone, because the camera type will not work with your desktop or laptop. So make sure you have your cell phone ready so you could scan it with your camera. And there's a QR code right here, and we are just going to scan it. When you go to camera on your cell phone, click on camera and then hold your camera to show the QR code, and then it'll say open in Expo Go. which you should have downloaded on your cell phone, which is Expo Go application. And then you will be able to see now the front, you'll be able to see the back of the camera where it's pointed at, and you'll see this text. It'll say flip camera. Okay, I think I spelled camera. Nope, okay, it's all good. So you'll be able to see the flip camera text, and when you click on the flip camera, it will then flip it now to the front facing camera portion, and then you can click flip camera again and it'll go again to the back camera.